Time to take the bonnet off. I think people are confused. This is coming off the video where we're talking about how
stripping off his clothes, Jesus positions himself at the feet of his closest companions to perform a bathing ritual of wiping his disciples' feet dry with a towel about his groin. And earliest followers' feet were already eroticized and closely associated with sex. Hebrew Bible, they often serve as a stand-in for genitalia. This book. Read it.
JeGaysus, question. Why did Ruth uncover Boaz's feet in the cave? I mean, wouldn't that just make him cold? Oh, honey, you think that's about feet? No. If it's not about feet, then what's it about? Scholars of the text say that feet's actually a euphemism for some acts. Another example of this is when we see King David tell Uriah to go back to his house to wash his feet so he doesn't commit adultery. Ooh, okay, so feet and sex can be interchangeable. But Mary washed Jesus' feet.
We're talking about how foot in the Hebrew is slang for I love how my bonnet always leaves a line. I think a lot of people are missing the point, so I want to make this video for clarification. Yes, the foot equaling genitalia and the uncovering equal nakedness in Hebrew was just that. It was a Hebrew euphemism. That's not the argument that's being made. Scholars pretty much already agree on that, right? I gave the example of Ruth, Boaz, and then getting pregnant. And a lot of people are quick to bring up, but that doesn't apply to the New Testament because the New Testament is written in Greek. The Greek would not have the same euphemisms as the Hebrew because that's how language works. Do we get it? That's not the argument that's being made. That's not what Francesca is saying. When I made my video, I wasn't actually trying to make a point. I was just saying Jesus washed Mary's feet. I thought it was funny and I was just gonna leave it there. So it's interesting that a doctor, a scholar, like Francesca, in her book, actually kind of made the same point. Here's the real argument. The people who wrote the New Testament were Hebrew scholars. They knew the Old Testament inside and out. They would quote the Old Testament. They would go back to the prophecies of the Old Testament, make sure it fit into the gospel story. They may have been converts from Judaism. These are men that were very familiar with the Hebrew language, with the Hebrew stories, with the Jewish culture. They knew exactly what foot was a euphemism for. So why did they include that specific imagery in these important scenes? If they knew that it was a slang term, they could have gone around it, they could have left it out entirely, but they specifically made it more erotic, especially with the taking off the clothes and putting on towels. Argument isn't, does Greek mean the same thing as in Hebrew? No, the argument is, did they do this to purposefully signal something knowing the Hebrew language? Let's get graphic and use an analogy. Cornhole used to have an actual meaning, right? Not what it's associated with today. Me in the present knowing that cornholio and cornhole has its own context. If I said, hey, can you clean my cornhole? And I was actually referring to a real cornhole, whatever that is, it would be funny because I'd be making a double entendre, a joke on that thing. You know what it means, I know what it means. It's not just me doing something innocent. As we have a shared culture, we know that pop reference, right? Just like the people who are writing the Greek New Testament had a shared culture and they knew the Hebrew reference. We aren't applying this to text that was written before that became slang. This was after. So they already knew the connotation and exactly what it means. So it's possible that they put that in there purposefully. That is the point in God and anatomy. They knew what they were doing, right? Maybe.